Loaded Radio in your face podcast.
Hey, what's happening? It's Scott Penfold back here for another edition of the Loaded Radio in Your Face podcast. And this week, man, first off, great to be back. But you know what? Coming back in a big way, we've got Corey Taylor from Stone Sour and Slipknot. I sat down with him recently backstage in Toronto and talked about the new album Hydrograd, as well as plans for Slipknot and the recent passing of Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. Here's my talk with Corey Taylor.
First off, Corey, thanks so much for taking the time hanging with me, man. I really appreciate it. First off, Hydrograd, dropping back in June. I think a really great, strong album for you guys. First off, I loved House of Golden Bones 1 and 2, man.
Thank you.
Big favorite. I love the way that was presented. I love the way you did that. This, I found that there's more of a straight up, like, right in your face kind of rock and roll vibe to it. Was that the set? Was that what you were doing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, House of Golden Bones was so, I don't want to say experimental, but it was so complex.
Yeah.
And there were some great musical moments, great songs, but it didn't have that kind of reckless abandon that I was trying to go for. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And it served its purpose. It told the story. It was perfect. But coming around to this album, I really wanted to just throw the clubs. You know, I just wanted to go for it.
Yeah.
And just be one of those albums where it's like you don't have to think, you don't have to do anything. You just put it on and you listen to it.
Yeah.
Because those are our favorite kinds of albums.
I miss albums.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Know? Yeah, man.
You know, you didn't put on Van Halen 2 to try and figure out problems.
No.
You put it on to drive fast, live fast, kick ass. Do it.
The Crank Beautiful Girls, man. You know,
it's just so good, right?
God, man, that whole album's great, track to track.
And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to put together that ultimate rock playlist.
It works.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like we pulled it off.
And I like how you led up to it too with the Burbank releases because there were some great covers, man. The cover of Creeping Death was cool, man.
Thanks, man.
That was so good. I mean, and what you did with Lizzie Hale when you did Give Me Shelter, wow.
Yeah.
You know, like just some great stuff. I talked to Lizzie about 2 months ago about that, and she said she had a great experience doing that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was. Josh flew down. She sang it in Nashville at her studio.
Yeah.
Like, had a great time, and it was funny because Josh was just like, she nailed it, and she goes, "What else do you want?" And he goes, "I don't know what else to tell you. Like, you just gave us gold." You know?
Yeah.
She has one of the best voices I've ever heard, man. So we were very fortunate.
She really does. I think that comparing to the original version with Mary Clayton, you know, like she really nails it and delivers it.
Brought it. So and it was perfect. I mean, it was the perfect choice to have.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. Now, it's also the first album to feature guitarist Christian Martucci and as well Johnny Chow. Yeah. They've been on the road with these since 2014, though. How was it being in studio doing the first new album with these guys?
Dude, it was great.
Was it? Yeah.
We had so much fun because, I mean, we were all so up to the challenge.
Yeah.
You know, like we were all on the same page musically. We were all on the same page as far as like recording. We were wide open. We were ready to go.
Yeah.
And God, we had a blast, man. We laughed every day.
Cool.
Even when problems came up, man, we figured it out and we got on with it. And there was nothing held on to. It was the best experience I've ever had in the studio. Like the best I've had since the first Slipknot album.
That's awesome, man. Wow.
Yeah, it was great, man. We had such a great time.
That's cool to hear, really. And it really comes across, I think, in the album, too. I mean, just tunes like Fabulous and, Song 3, like right now, getting a lot of rotation in radio. What can you tell me about the song Fabulous, first of all?
Fabulous, that tune really came together. I mean, that was one of the demos that Tooch brought in, actually. Christian. Yeah, he brought it in. We did a little maneuvering on it and kind of moved some riffs and stuff around, but then when we demoed it live.
Yeah.
We demoed it as a band, and really that's when it started. It really came together.
Nice.
And when I was writing the lyrics for it, I had the first half of the pre-chorus, but not the second, and I just kept coming back to this weird thing where I was mashing up the Stones and Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going, you know what? I need to lead with that and take what I did right and put it later, And it just worked. I remember the guys, when I laid it down the first time, they sat up, they were like, what the hell was that? I was just like, that's where we're going. They're like, okay,
Nice, nice.
So it felt great.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And as well, song 3 of that kind of, I guess, an ambiguous title. Like, where did that come from?
That song, and it frustrates the hell out of people, especially because it's track number 5.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
It's just me messing with everybody.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, there's a reason it's called that, and it's because it's the combination of 2 different songs that I wrote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's I took the best bits of one and the best bits of the other, and I just put them together.
Oh, okay.
So hence 1, 2, 3. And it just worked, So it was song number 3, basically, And yeah, it was weird because I was like, I was listening to stuff and I was listening back and forth. And I was like, wait a minute, that works with this.
Yeah.
Like, and they were both about the same person, so it was perfect.
Oh, it works. That's nice.
I was like, oh, thank God for that.
Great. It's obviously been a few years as well, but do you feel a difference with Jim not being there?
There's obviously going to be a difference.
Yeah.
Like Jim brought a certain type of creativity in, and it was, for what we were doing, it worked absolutely. But then these guys, they really filled that in. Perfectly. We didn't lose a step as far as like the creativity and the flow because we all brought in music. I know people think that Jim brought in a lot of the music, but it was actually very much equal parts. So those guys really came in, pulled their own weight. They were ready to go.
Cool. And
we were able to make it very much Stone Sour.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, when you're working with Slipknot, is there that awkwardness with Jim there about this, or is it?
It was at first,
Yeah.
man, but I think because of the fact that we realized that Jim's just a lot happier in Slipknot.
Yeah.
And that's just his realm, man. He loves that realm.
Yeah.
That kind of helped that tension go away right away. And he realized that I was going to put the same kind of focus and intensity into that, working and being able to go back and forth.
Yeah.
So there was nothing lost there.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I think a really big surprising announcement was that Knotfest, great returning, but Stone Sour. You'll be playing still Slipknot will not be taking the stage for Knotfest this year. What's behind that? What's the deal with that?
That is honestly just us trying to build the brand and make it strong. Like it's kind of like we're taking it a step further when Ozfest would have Sabbath instead of Ozzy himself.
That's right. Yeah.
This is I'm not at the top of the bill, but we're also filling in with all the stuff that like the side stuff that we do. Like Sid's going to do a set.
Yep.
Everybody's kind of like doing their thing. Clown will still be there, kind of doing whatever. So our presence will still be there. But a festival is only as strong as its foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And the foundation for us is heavy metal and creativity.
Yep.
And there are so many bands that deserve a shot to be focused on, to be, given that spotlight, that it just made too much sense to do it, and if this thing is going to live on its own, we have to prove that it can stand on its own.
Right. Right.
So it just made sense.
Cool, man. I understood.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to be as well doing it live again over the internet like we did before?
No, we're definitely talking about it.
That was cool. We loved that. You guys did that, man.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And everybody really got into it. It drew more attention, and we were able to really have, we were really able to kind of put the focus on the fact that, everybody tries to write off rock and metal anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, by the way, here's all these huge numbers.
Exactly, right?
You take these with you.
I know that. It's so frustrating, man.
It really is.
Oh, it really, really is.
Like, just because something's popular doesn't mean that the other thing's gone.
I know. I wish the important people would grasp that, too, that needed to. The recent passing of Chester Bennington, that I'm sure that hit you pretty hard. What are your feelings on that?
It destroyed me. He's a good friend of mine. I had just spoken to him like a few weeks before, so it really caught me off guard. It caught all of us off guard. Yeah, and this tells you just how wonderful he was. Like everybody that I knew who had met him or worked with him or whatever, we all called each other to be there for each other, and there were a lot of us. So just that, I wish I could have had a chance to tell him that and show him that he had such an impact on so many people, that this loss was huge, and it affected his fans too, man.
It did.
It's been heavy.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. But I'm trying to get people to just focus on the positivity and not the negative side of it, And I've been just trying to lead people who are hitting a wall to certain, like, different hotlines, different organizations that help with this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Trying to listen to myself. It's important. It's important. I don't want anybody to ever feel like they don't have anybody to talk to.
It's really bringing things to light, I think, recently, too.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate way for it to happen, but I think it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And there's Corey Taylor from Stone Sour and Slipknot right there. And don't forget Hydrograd available now. You can pick that up. Brand new album from Stone Sour. Some great straight up hard rock there for you, and a great album nonetheless. Big thanks going out to Dean and Eric at Warner Music Canada, and as well you for tuning in. Don't forget, check out loadedradio.com, and we'll talk to you again next week right here on the Loaded Radio In Your Face podcast.